It began with a whisper, a tremor of scandal that rippled through the polished corridors of London's High Court like an electric shock, like the buzz of gossip in a crowded room before a secret is torn wide open. Imagine it, the judge's gavel striking the dais, the cameras flashing, and Prince Harry, usually cool, measured, reserved, standing in the witness box and sounding not royal, but vulnerable, rattled, raw. He wasn't just testifying in a dry legal battle, he was in that moment losing control of the narrative he has fought so relentlessly to command. This was no ordinary courtroom moment. This was the beginning of the meltdown that everyone will be talking about for years, where walls cracked and reputations trembled. From the first seconds he opened his mouth, there was crackle in the air, tension in the room, because Harry wasn't just repeating rehearsed lines, he was bleeding emotion. His voice shook as he decried the press's treatment of Meghan, admitting that years of intrusive coverage had made her life an absolute misery. A phrase that hit like a charge, a confession that wasn't merely legal testimony but a window into days too painful to recount without strain. But then came the twist. The moment when this entire trial pivoted from a privacy dispute to a full-on scandal so explosive it could rewrite public perception of everything Harry has claimed for years. Because right behind him, in that same courtroom, sat people he once called allies, people the world expected to stand with him against the press machine, and those people began to testify in ways that cast doubt on everything he has inscribed as truth. This is where the so-called friends stepped up, and the real fissures started to show. They said things in measured legal language, but make no mistake, every syllable was a loaded grenade, detonated in slow motion. And then came the first leak, flashing across encrypted messaging apps and gossip blogs within moments, word of secret. Emails being submitted live into court evidence. Emails that supposedly showed communications between members of Harry's inner circle and journalists. Emails that suggested sources closer to Harry himself may have been feeding information, not hostile newspaper spelunkers armed with bugging devices and hidden microphones. The press wouldn't wait. They screamed it out in headlines before the judge could even clear his throat. Even as Harry tried to maintain his composure, the rumor took life on social media. Secret emails leaked in court show friends were leaky sources, not the Mail's criminal tactics. The narrative began to flip. In the palace of public opinion, the throne Harry built for his version of events started to wobble. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where the meltdown truly erupted. Because you see, he hadn't planned for this. No meticulous lawyers, no advanced strategy briefing, no carefully curated statement to shelter him from this kind of ambush. Instead, here he was, under bright lights, firing off emotional claims about press intrusion, and now forced to respond to the suggestion that friends he trusts may have inadvertently or intentionally helped feed the media's hunger for his private life. The public gallery watched in real time as the ground beneath Harry's courtroom crusade seemed to shift because of emails, testimony, and leaks. And yet, the court itself was a storm of collision. Harry's passionate denial that any of his friends fed stories to reporters was sharp, cutting, almost offensive, but fast and moving rumors were already gaining traction that friends had indeed been in contact with journalists and that those email chains were now evidence. For thousands of spectators online, the drama was no longer about privacy versus press power. It was about loyalty, betrayal, and the truth behind every whispered conversation in Harry's orbit. The rumor mills churned with posts like, was it really phone hacking, or was Harry living in a bubble while his trusted allies were quietly tipping off reporters? Secret email chain shows someone in Harry's circle talking to tabloids. What's the real story? Did Harry lie on the stand? Did his friends? Suddenly, the courtroom wasn't just a legal forum, it was a public theater where Harry's closest relationships were under unblinking scrutiny. Inside the courtroom, Liz Hurley sat poised, elegant, composed, ready to give her own testimony about alleged unlawful practices she claimed the press inflicted on her life, including landline tapping and intrusion of privacy. She spoke with deep distress about invasive coverage, tears glistening as she recalled a violation so profound it altered her sense of security in her own home. But even as she testified, the secret email saga cast a long shadow over every word. Because once the crowd outside the courtroom and the wider world tasted the idea that Harry's own people leaked to the press, every declaration of unlawful intrusion suddenly sounded more complicated, more fraught, more open to interpretation. And so the drama mounted. not just with emotional testimony, but with the unfolding spectacle of digital paper trail, supposed leaks, and a swirl of questions that kept spinning faster than anyone in the courtroom could answer. There was a moment, caught on camera and instantly replayed thousands of times online, where Harry folded his hands, swallowed hard, and gave a look that was not the steel resolve of a privacy crusader, but the flicker of someone caught off balance. What rumors race ahead of his own legal defense like wildfire through dry grass. And that, friends, is where we leave things for part 1, with the courtroom tension at peak pressure, with secret emails exploding in the public sphere, and with Prince Harry trying desperately to hold on to his truth as narratives collide and confusion reigns. Every eye was on Prince Harry. Was he truly the victim of a ruthless tabloid system, or was he simply caught in a web of his own making? It was a crossroads, one where everything could either collapse under the weight of the truth, or a slick maneuver might save his credibility. But who could save him now? The question swirled like a storm, getting louder with every passing second. The secret emails, the whispers of betrayal, and the uncomfortable alliance between Harry's inner circle and the very media empire he claimed to loathe. It wasn't just speculation anymore. It was the stuff of high-stakes drama, and the world was watching, eating up every word like it was the final season of a hit show. The gossip was no longer confined to tabloid pages. It was right there in the courtroom, with Harry caught in a storm he never anticipated. At this point, the leaked emails became the key player. No one was talking about the press anymore. This wasn't about royal privacy, about cruel headlines and intrusive photographers. No. This was about Harry's own people, his so-called trusted allies, those he once believed would fight with him against the press, turning against him, or, worse, unknowingly becoming part of the very machine they had sworn to defeat. As the court resumed, the defense attorney waved the emails in front of the judge, pointing out that these were the real smoking guns. They weren't random press leaks. They weren't illegal phone taps. They were private communications that had gone straight into the hands of tabloid journalists. The witnesses were supposed to be Harry's friends, but now they were looking more like loose cannons, firing off confidential information with all the subtlety of a nuclear explosion. You see, Your Honor, this email clearly states that Harry's camp was reaching out to reporters, offering up juicy tidbits. Not for money, no, but for leverage, for control over the narrative. This is where the line is blurred. These are the people who were supposed to stand beside him, but now they are playing the media game just like everyone else. The courtroom gasped, the tension palpable, as Harry's face flushed with a mix of disbelief and anger. How could this happen? How could his closest friends have possibly betrayed him like this? If the world found out that Harry, in the midst of his crusade for privacy, had been secretly colluding with the media he so publicly despised, his whole campaign would go up in smoke. No one would believe a word he said. It would be the end of his moral high ground. The emails were only the beginning. Witnesses had begun to take the stand, and each new person who testified seemed to chip away at Harry's defenses. One former confidant claimed that Harry had glamorized the notion of being a victim in the public eye, that perhaps the line between reality and the royal fantasy he had constructed had become too tangled to separate. These weren't allegations of bad press. These were the confessions of people who had witnessed firsthand Harry's rise to celebrity at the hands of the media he now condemned. They had been there, they knew the truth, they had seen how the royal family had played the press for years. Now, they were ready to expose it all. Harry was always the golden boy of the tabloids. I mean, sure, he hated them, but he didn't mind the spotlight when it suited him. He didn't mind when the press made him look good, but when they turned on him, that's when the story started leaking out about the invasion of privacy. But it wasn't just them, it was Harry too. He was a part of this. The witness's voice was shaky, but the damage was done. It felt like a complete reversal, like the walls were closing in. And suddenly Harry was the one under the microscope. How had things gotten so bad? This wasn't just an ordinary media scandal anymore. This wasn't about an invasion of privacy or even about the press. This was about how deep the web of deception really went. Was Harry truly the victim? Or had he somehow become a puppet in a larger, more complex game where truth and lies collided in an impossible dance. The reality of it all hit like a sledgehammer as another bombshell came crashing through. This email chain is a game changer, the defense attorney declared. Present another set of emails, this one more damning than the last. They appeared to show Harry himself in direct communication with reporters, offering inside information in exchange for more positive coverage of his life. The emails were brief, cryptic, but telling. If you can take care of the headline for me, I can give you some more exclusive access. The courtroom fell into silence. The room was now divided. Some whispers of disbelief, others nodding, as if they had already known what was coming. But the fact that these exchanges were now on public display, emails so scandalous they practically screamed PR manipulation, was a full-on game changer. Harry had said over and over that he had nothing to do with these leaks, but the emails now proved that he had played the game just as much as the tabloids. The public reaction was nothing short of ferocious. Social media exploded with theories and accusations. The hashtag Harry lied began trending within minutes, with people posting their own interpretations of what was happening. Were these just innocent mistakes, misunderstandings, or was it worse? Was Harry playing both sides, the victim and the star, controlling his narrative with leaks to the press? And if so, where did that leave the idea of the truth? He's been trying to manipulate this story from the start, a user posted. No wonder he was so quick to blame the press for everything. It was him all along. The hashtag Harry lied train gathered speed, becoming a viral sensation, with even those who had once sympathized with Harry now turning their backs. The revelations had fractured his image, leaving him fighting not just for justice, but for his very reputation. He was no longer the innocent royal fighting for privacy. He was the man who had played the game, who had used the press when it suited him and cast them as villains when they turned on him. But that was the least of it. As Harry sat in the witness box, the final shockwave hit, the bizarre twist that would have every single person questioning everything. Another leak, this time a phone recording, came to light. It was a conversation between Harry and a reporter, discussing what stories to push out next, how best to handle the narrative in the midst of the court trial. This tape was the final nail in the coffin, revealing not only the manipulation of the press, but the manipulation of the public, the very people who had once supported him. As the final moments of the court session came to a close, the damage was irreversible. Harry's personal brand, the very foundation of his public image, had crumbled in front of a worldwide audience. He had lost the moral high ground, and with it the trust of millions. In the days to follow, the news continued to reverberate. Headlines screamed about the Harry scandal that had taken over the royal family's already strained public life. People who once adored him now turned away in disbelief, and that's where we leave things, for now. The fallout from these revelations promises to continue for weeks, if not months. The royal family's image has been tarnished, and Harry's court meltdown will remain etched in history as one of the most shocking chapters of modern royal scandal. What will happen next? Will Harry recover from this public humiliation, or has he lost everything he fought so hard to build? Only time will tell.